Remember Circuit City? The Red Towers. The endless wall of TVs. The salesperson who sold you fear and then sold you the remote. At its peak, this company was ringing up $12 billion a year, and Jim Collins put it in good to great as proof America still knew how to build winners. Then, in March 2007, 18 months before the bankruptcy filing, they fired 3,400 of their highest paid workers. Not the worst ones, the best ones, because they cost too much. This is the autopsy of how Circuit City died. In January 1949, Samuel Wurtzel arrived in Richmond, Virginia, looking for his next venture. During a routine haircut, a barber mentioned that the city's first commercial television station was about to go on the air. Wurtzel, recognizing an immediate market, acted quickly. He opened Ward's Company, a small retail shop named using an acronym of his family members' first names: Wurtzel, Alan, Ruth, David, and Samuel. At the time, television was a foreign concept to most Southern households. To overcome consumer hesitation, Wurtzel introduced a practical selling strategy: free in-home trials. His team delivered television sets directly to living rooms, betting that once a family experienced the technology, they would refuse to let it leave. Because these units were expensive, Wurtzel leveraged customer financing and relied on vendor credit to keep his sparse shelves stocked. This scrappy, family-owned appliance operation grew not through grand corporate design, but through local improvisation and calculated risks. Wurtzel slowly expanded the footprint throughout Virginia by acquiring smaller regional competitors, establishing a disciplined operational template built on high inventory turnover and aggressive local promotions. This regional foundation would slowly turn a single neighborhood storefront into the blueprint for a multi-state retail network, long before the first red towers ever touched the suburban skyline. In 1972, Samuel's son, Alan Wurtzel, assumed the role of CEO. He brought a clinical, data-driven approach to what had been an improvisational family business. Wurtzel dismantled regional waste by introducing centralized purchasing, strict cost controls, and a computerized inventory tracking system designed to accelerate cash conversion and prevent stock buildup. The real breakthrough came in 1975. Wurtzel opened the company's first warehouse-style showroom. This low-margin, high-volume concept allowed customers to browse open floors of mock displays while their actual purchases were pulled from a massive, secure rear warehouse. This blueprint rapidly evolved into the Circuit City Superstore, a massive retail format tailored for the post-war suburban boom. To fund a nationwide rollout, Ward's Company officially rebranded as Circuit City Stores Incorporated and went public on the New York Stock Exchange in 1984. The capital injection redefined the company's physical presence. Suburban regions across America were soon marked by these massive brick buildings, immediately recognizable by the giant, plug-in red towers that framed the entrance. Inside these red towers lay the engine of the company's profitability: a highly trained, commission-only sales force. Unlike the self-service models of department stores, Circuit City's sales associates were product experts. They were intensively trained to guide consumers through the complex, high-ticket world of VCRs, stereo systems, and television sets. Because these associates earned their living purely on a percentage of what they sold, they had every incentive to master technical specs, handle consumer hesitations, and upsell accessories. This commission structure generated gross margins of 20 to 25%, well above the industry average. By the late 1980s, the company had built a self-reinforcing flywheel where massive retail scale, operational discipline, and expert floor-level execution powered unparalleled profitability. Throughout the 1980s, this retail flywheel spun with ferocious speed, transforming a modest regional network into an undisputed national empire. Wall Street reacted with near-frenzied enthusiasm. During this single decade, Circuit City stock delivered over 9,000% total returns to shareholders, cementing its status as the absolute best-performing equity on the United States stock market. Backed by this wall-to-wall capital, the Red Tower superstores rapidly claimed suburban strip malls across America. This massive physical footprint yielded immense scale advantages. Major electronics manufacturers, desperate for premium showroom space, readily surrendered to the company's demands for steep volume discounts, favorable shelf placement, and extended payment terms. Consequently, net income climbed from $22 million in 1986 to over $327 million by 2000. But inside the Richmond headquarters, this relentless success bred a quiet, systemic danger. Leadership looked at the soaring spreadsheets and made a logical, yet ultimately fatal assumption. Their business model was completely unbeatable. In September 1998, this corporate confidence manifested in a high-stakes gamble to reshape how Americans watched movies at home. Circuit City bypassed standard DVD-S to launch Digital Video Express, or DivX. This proprietary format featured encrypted, disposable discs that cost about $4.50 each. The catch was a strict digital lock. Once a customer started playing a movie, a central server monitored via dial-up connection started a 48-hour viewing window. After that, the disc was useless unless the customer paid to reactivate it. The concept rested on a flawed assumption that consumers would willingly pay to own a product designed to lock them out. Instead of serving consumer demand, the company attempted to force a highly restrictive habit into existence. Major Hollywood studios and rival retailers rejected the closed system immediately. By June 1999, less than a year after launch, Circuit City killed the project. The company recorded a $114 million after-tax charge, with total losses eventually reaching $337 million. Alongside the financial bleed, the venture consumed years of executive focus, dragging management attention away from core operations exactly when a shifting market demanded absolute vigilance. In 1988, Richard Schulze, the founder of a rising 12-store retail chain called Best Buy, approached Circuit City with an offer to sell his entire company for roughly $30 million. Circuit City's board, led by Chief Executive Rick Sharp, flatly rejected the proposal. Management believed that opening a single Red Tower showroom of their own in Minneapolis would easily crush the local competitor. This rejection reflected what business author Jim Collins identifies as a cycle of arrogant neglect. Circuit City failed to recognize that Best Buy operated under a different retail philosophy. While Circuit City relied on commissioned sales staff to drive high-margin transactions, Best Buy pioneered a low-pressure, self-service model. Their big-box stores featured open displays, inviting customers to touch, compare, and test products independently. Best Buy also secured prime, high-visibility real estate near major highway interchanges, while Circuit City remained committed to secondary suburban strip centers. To the Richmond executive suite, Best Buy's low-margin, hands-off environment looked like a temporary mistake. They refused to evolve, confident that their traditional showroom flywheel was untouchable. This $30 million pass left Best Buy independent and free to build the very machine that would eventually overtake them. In 1993, Chief Executive Richard Sharp and Senior Vice President W. Austin Ligon launched a radical experiment inside the company's Richmond headquarters, a used car retail concept called CarMax. The venture shared Circuit City's core DNA, applying computerized inventory tracking, fixed no-haggle pricing, and a high-volume warehouse showroom format to the traditional auto dealership. It was a brilliant retail idea that proved the company's operational blueprint could succeed far beyond consumer electronics. Yet, as CarMax grew, it became a critical distraction. For nearly a decade, the venture consumed vast amounts of corporate capital and occupied the minds of Circuit City's most talented planners. By the time CarMax was officially spun off as an independent public company in 2002, the separation triggered a silent, devastating brain drain. Rather than returning their focus to a shifting electronics market, many of the company's brightest executives and operational stars permanently left the parent company to stay with the thriving auto venture. Circuit City had birthed a multi-billion-dollar giant, but in doing so, it hollowed out its own leadership pipeline exactly when the core chain faced its most brutal fight. In August 2000, Circuit City's board approved a restructuring plan that looked entirely rational on a balance sheet. They decided to completely exit the major appliance business. Washers, dryers, and refrigerators had been a cornerstone of the store's footprint, representing approximately 14% of total sales. But appliances were heavy, expensive to store, and carried lower profit margins than consumer electronics. By early 2001, the transformation was complete. Store floors were cleared of white goods, and 6 distribution centers closed. The timing was catastrophic. Almost immediately after the exit, the United States entered a historic, housing-driven economic expansion. Between 2001 and 2005, millions of Americans bought new homes and flooded retail stores to purchase major appliances. Circuit City had voluntarily abandoned the category just as demand peaked. Rivals like Sears, Lowe's, and Best Buy quickly absorbed the vacuum, capturing billions in high-ticket sales. Beyond the lost revenue, the departure damaged the brand's identity. Shoppers who once viewed Circuit City as a one-stop destination for the entire home now found a narrowed showroom, raising a quiet question: what was Circuit City actually for? Under Alan McCulloch's leadership, Circuit City faced narrowing margins and a rising threat from Best Buy's non-commissioned warehouse environment. The executive suite in Richmond began viewing the sales floor through a strictly transactional lens. To managers focused on immediate balance sheet pressures, the company's highly compensated expert sales force was no longer a competitive advantage. It was reclassified as a cost problem. McCulloch's administration targeted store operations with a series of quiet, systemic payroll cuts. The mathematical logic guiding these decisions was simple. By systematically phasing out seasoned, commission-eligible sales associates and replacing them with lower-paid, hourly wage staff, Circuit City calculated roughly $100 million in annual payroll savings. It was a metric-driven strategy that appeared entirely rational inside the corporate headquarters, but on the showroom floors, the operational damage was immediate. Thousands of experienced sales professionals who had spent years mastering complex product specifications and cultivating local customer loyalty saw their earning power dismantled. Unwilling to work under the weakened compensation model, the company's top-performing sellers walked out. Many of these displaced experts joined the competition. Best Buy actively recruited these seasoned sellers, integrating their expertise into their own expanding stores to sharpen their customer service. Behind the red towers, the showroom culture disintegrated. The once energetic sales floors were left in the hands of high-turnover, hourly hires who lacked the knowledge to explain complex technology to confused shoppers. Morale plummeted, customer service plummeted, and repeat business evaporated. In chasing short-term payroll relief, management had quietly gutted the human engine that drove their sales. In 2006, Philip Schoonover took the chief executive chair, carrying the company's cost-cutting logic to its ultimate endpoint. On the morning of March 28, 2007, store managers across the country read from a scripted corporate notice. By noon, Circuit City had fired 3,400 of its highest-paid sales associates, roughly 9% of the entire retail workforce. The targeted employees were the store's top performers, seasoned specialists who earned an average of $18 an hour due to their tenure and technical expertise. Corporate headquarters framed the mass termination under the sterile term wage management to realize $100 million in annual payroll savings. Fired workers were given severance packages, but they were told they could reapply for their old jobs after 11 weeks at a significantly lower hourly rate. Schoonover was attempting to mimic Best Buy's lower wage cost structure, but he did so without Best Buy's open, self-service store layouts or its non-commissioned culture. The result on the sales floor was instant paralysis. Customers walked into showrooms only to find rookie, hourly hires who could not explain how to hook up a high-definition television or configure a home computer. The newly launched tech support service, FireDog, was supposed to step in and capture high-margin installation fees. Instead, it arrived too late to restore the lost floor-level advantage. As customer service collapsed, sales plummeted. Within months, Circuit City's stock price crashed to $4.20, a fraction of its former value. Behind the collapsing stock price lay years of digital surrender and financial depletion. In 2001, the company had outsourced its e-commerce website to Amazon. For 4 years, Amazon operated the retailer's web store, collecting valuable consumer data and learning the logistics of electronics delivery, while Circuit City remained digitally blind. This strategic drift coincided with severe capital drain. Between 2002 and 2006, the board spent $1.2 billion on stock buybacks. This massive expenditure temporarily boosted share value, but stripped the company of the liquid cash needed to modernize physical stores or build its own online operations. When the global financial crisis struck in 2008, the hollowed-out balance sheet collapsed. Fearing the retailer's insolvency, major suppliers and credit insurers tightened terms, demanding cash upfront before shipping new inventory. Without cash reserves, Circuit City could not pay. The consequences were visible on the showroom floors. During the holiday shopping season of 2008, customers walked past the iconic red towers to find bare shelves where laptops and flat-screen televisions should have been. On November 10, 2008, Circuit City filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. No rescue packages or buyers emerged. In January 2009, the court ordered total liquidation. By March 8, 2009, the final stores closed, leaving 34,000 employees out of work and bringing a quiet end to a 60-year retail empire. Today, modern retail still mistakes short-term cost-cutting for strategic genius. But Circuit City warns us that the most dangerous threat to any empire isn't the competitor outside. It is the quiet, rationalized decay from within. The autopsy is clear. The fatal wound is almost always self-inflicted. What giant is making these same mistakes today? Let us know below and subscribe for more.